This is Tech Addicts. This week, I get a bit minty. A woman gets photographed by a robot vacuum cleaner. NASA achieves what your broadband company can't. HTC's coming. Ukraine installs an AI-generated foreign minister. And there's some refreshes of popular portable gaming devices. Hello and welcome to the Tech Addicts Podcast. I'm your host Gareth, and I'm joined as ever by Ted. How are you keeping, Ted?
Hello. I'm just too bloody hot. It started. The summer is here. It's very, very, what's the word? Thundery. They reckon that this afternoon it's going to be thunder and lightning, so that should break it. Have you got any thunder and lightning your way?
No, I haven't actually checked the weather today, and I'm for washing the cars this afternoon.
We might need to.
Well, there's a lot of bird shit over my car, and I want to get rid of it because it's nasty. Let
the rain do it.
It won't. It really won't, and it'll just make it worse. I think I'm just having a look at the weather now. Yeah, there's a front coming in. Ooh, great. I'll take my shorts off and my Hawaiian top here, and maybe just go back to conventional clothes. Great.
Get down the pub.
Yeah. How are things otherwise?
They are okay, except that my Audacity is looking like it's peaking very low, and it might need restarting, but we'll try that again. It should be all right. Yeah, it's fine. Besides the technicalities, life ticks on, and I've got nothing to report, really. I'm sorry. It's oh yes, I have. I tried to go to the dentist this week, and they wouldn't let me in. They did a cock up on the
excuse me.
They had a cock up on the booking of appointments.
Oh, I see.
And it was quite funny because I had taken my diazepam in order to get in the chair, and when I got there, they said that I can't have the appointment, and so I was kind of sitting there wheezed out for no reason.
Whereas you would have been furious at the receptionist, otherwise you were just like, that's all right, chill, love, that's all good. Right.
Yes.
Cruising back out again, heading down to the pub. I see.
Yeah. Anyway, yeah, I've got nothing to report. I'm really sorry, apart from any interesting tech we've got to talk about. I nearly bought a keyboard yesterday, and then I just suddenly decided, no, there's nothing wrong with your keyboard, don't be silly. But they were offering me £34 a month for 5 months, and that it was just like tempting me. It's the Logitech MX keys mechanical, and it just looks so lovely. We've spoken about it before on the show, but it's 170 quid, and you think, oh, for goodness sake, don't be silly.
It's never entered my head to even try or even ask the question, or I wonder if anyone else ever asked, can you plug 2 keyboards into a computer and be twice as productive? Or 2 mice?
Good
I've never tried that.
No. Well, you could be like a Hammond organ player, couldn't you? Have 3 layers of keys in front of you.
Well, I suppose you can, actually. No, I think about it. I've got my work laptop beside me, which I've got tuned into my Logitech MX keys. And then I'll flip over to that, and I'll be able to use that keyboard. But from time to time, I'll use the laptop keyboard so that it doesn't feel unloved. And I've used both at the same time, so you can.
Oh, right, yeah, of course.
Yeah.
And I've done that as well, with my Chromebook, my Pixelbook. So the answer is yes. I'm not sure about a mouse, though.
Yeah, 2 mices might be pushing it.
Oh, if one was Bluetooth and one was wired.
I've got 2 plugged in right now.
Oh, okay.
I've got my quiet mouse for podcasting, and then I've got my other clicky one, which is my MX Master 3, and they're both working at the same time, and they're fighting against each other now to go left and right and left.
Answers your question then, didn't it?
I bet users are glad they tuned in this week for the cutting edge of technology.
and hearing about the bloody midges flying around my face. Clear off.
Okay, all right. Is it your aftershave, perhaps?
Could be my Olbus oil.
Have you been spreading jam on your face?
I've got citronella candles going, so they should be clearing off, the silly gits.
Right.
Anyway, just to say that the door is open and the windows are open, so it will be quite noisy with trains here. I apologise in advance.
Cool. Okay. Well, I'll dare to move into a bit of a techie zone here, because I have actually been a wee bit busy this week. I have... A couple of weeks ago, I mentioned how I had this real problem with Windows, in that I upgraded the BIOS on my motherboard, which then deregistered or unactivated Windows. And I purchased an OEM license a couple of years ago, and it is no longer valid, which really perturbs me. My key doesn't work, so I had to sit with someone on the phone and I had to prove that I'd purchased Windows with that person on the phone by digging out a receipt for it from the place that I'd bought it from, and then they converted it into another license for me to apply a different key now. So Windows is working again. But when that happened, that took about, a week for it to actually happen. For them to, I asked for them to ring me back, and they didn't ring me back for a long time. And then I eventually got them and found a number with the help thing that doesn't work on the computer. You know, whenever it says, when you're trying to troubleshoot, it just doesn't work. It doesn't carry you through properly, or it'll loop you back around, or you'll hit a dead end with a white screen in the wee troubleshoot window, and it's like, I'm out of suggestions. It's like, well, give me a number for someone to call. That would be great. But I eventually got one using Reddit and things like that, and went through and eventually got it all working, and I'm back legal again, having upgraded my BIOS, which is wonderful, and I should be able to do without having to jump through hoops. But it's just one of those things that's really hacked me off about Microsoft, that I'm not in charge of my computer. I'm really not. So I am now investigating the idea of moving to Linux. Mm-hmm. And I had, about a year ago, put in an SSD and installed Zorin on there, and used it for a wee while here and there, just whenever I've had nothing better to do. I've gone in, had a wee play with it, and then got away again. However, in the evenings now, I'm moonlighting as a Linux user, because I have Linux Mint on there instead. And
Mint?
Mint, M-I-N-T, yes.
Right, okay.
It's one of the more popular and highly sought after. What's the word? Highly approved, highly liked by people in the general Linux world.
Okay.
And I'm really enjoying using it. I'm not making the big switch just yet, because I don't want to be stuck in Linux world, having got rid of Windows, and then discover, I can't do this. But in the evenings, I'm sitting down for a wee hour to set this up and set that up, and realizing that everything just works really nicely, and it's much faster. And I feel like I know what's actually happening in the background. Say, for example, you open up your network interface to see exactly how much information is being sent and received from your computer. Windows is like millions of gigabytes a second, whereas Linux is like, we'll use it here, and we'll use it there because we need it. But otherwise, I feel like I've got a trustworthy back end to my computer where it's doing things that I want it to do, not what it fancies doing and what Microsoft wants to do on my computer.
The problem is, though, that my thinking is that what happens to all those applications and stuff that you need to run? Like in my case, the famous one for me is Microsoft Publisher, which I just can't do without. I'm looking around my computer, Audacity, MP3 Skype recorder, Skype, which is another Microsoft thing, all the things we rely on for podcasting, for example, VLC media player, Handbrake for ripping DVDs.
They're all there.
There's just a ton of stuff that you think, They're all there, including Microsoft Publisher.
Microsoft Publisher might be the little one that isn't there. However, there's a thing called Bottles that allows you to run Windows apps or Windows applications. And I dare say that it might be a wee bit better than actually running it on Windows. I've noticed that whenever I open some things, they rocket open in front of me, whereas doing it on the Windows side of stuff, it can be like, we'll get to that in a second. We're just currently parsing this data, and then we'll get around to doing what you want to do whenever we're ready. You know, it does feel like I'm asking my computer to do stuff that it doesn't want to have to do, and it'll eventually get around to doing it whenever I'm using Windows. But whenever it's Linux, it's standing there like an obedient and alert soldier, ready for my command. Whatever you say, sir, on it. So
why haven't you done it then? What have you found that is going to be a sticking point?
I haven't found anything just yet. I'm dipping my toe. I've put my foot in the water, and I'm about to commit to wading into the surf and going for a full-on swim. I can't think of anything at the moment that is really outside of what I do on a day-to-day basis. I suppose, yeah, there's one thing I use that I haven't looked into yet, but that's the whole thing. Is I need to investigate all those things on a daily basis, like bulk rename utility. I would use that quite a lot. I know that Linux is better at renaming stuff than Windows, so I might not need it as much, but there's probably a version of it for Linux. I just haven't looked into that yet. Where you're saying about Audacity and VLC, they're all there. I could be doing this podcast from Linux or from Mint this morning. I just don't have my own confidence yet in using it as a 24/7 operating system. I still need to have my concrete foundation of Windows, even though I'm sitting here saying it's shit and it's really annoying me.
What
and
about
the complex things that I've set up for automation are all through Windows at the moment, and having to transfer that over to Linux is going to take a while. And because I'm speaking a different language, I don't know the lingo for being able to get that set up.
Okay. So supposing I've got, which I have got, a subscription to Microsoft 365 and the whole Office suite. If you run Bottles, that will just run inside it, and it will check my payment stuff and all the rest of it with Microsoft, and it will just know that it's legitimate, will it?
Well, I don't use up Microsoft 365, but some of the tutorials and things that I've been looking at, some of the YouTube reviews and that sort of thing, that I've seen reference to Microsoft 365 and how you can log in with your account and how you can get those things running, and how there's better alternatives to those in LibreOffice and things like that.
Yeah. But not with Publisher. This is what I always come up against, and I have tried and tried and tried with Publisher, and I just can't find anything that matches it. And next year, or rather in 2026, when they kill it off, I don't know what I'm going to do still, but I'm still on the lookout.
Well, you can always use a virtual machine and run it that way and preserve it the way it is.
Yeah, and they're not going to ditch it in the sense that you won't be able to use it. I will still be able to use it, but it won't be updated, which is okay as long as there aren't new features I need or whatever. But yeah, I mean, I'm sure it won't overnight be a problem. But and if I could run it under some other platform like Mint, then great. I've got a little Geekom box, as you know. We spoke about it on the show, so I could actually try all this with that and plug it into my monitor and see how I get on.
Well, you should do, yeah. I'd certainly utilise that the best way. I was thinking about setting up an entirely different system to have Linux running on, but I don't really have anything that's terribly powerful knocking around that isn't, that I haven't retired, essentially. And I don't want to get back into building something whenever I've got a perfectly good rig here. And I've just got it dual booting at the moment, which is fine, and I'll tomorrow night or maybe tonight I'll sit down for another hour and have a wee play with Mint and see if I just make another step toward getting everything kind of set up the way you want it.
Very good. That's a really interesting experiment, I have to admit. And I've been looking to do something similar just to see for some time now and just not got to it. So
even a Chromebook as well, you can put it on there too. Because I do think Mint so far has a lot more in it than a Chromebook does.
Mm-hmm. Well,
There's an awful lot more potential.
So you would run it from a USB stick or something, would you?
Yeah, you could do. I hadn't actually thought about doing that on my Chromebook, but yes, you can boot it off a USB stick.
Mm-hmm.
But I think I would want to, where I have my other Chromebook, my Asus, which has now 5 in it. I might actually think about sweeping Chrome off that, but I know it's a wee bit more complicated than with a Windows machine or a hardware that you actually bought with the purpose of doing something with.
Very interesting.
Well, there we go.
Yeah, definitely.
I'll report back in another couple of weeks.
yeah. And in the meantime, I'll see if I can find the time and space to. Actually, I've also not my Geekom box. I've also got another one, a B-Link, which I got years ago, and because it's so lightweight, I could use that even probably to experiment with. Yeah. Thinking ahead now.
Yeah. Driver support for it is pretty tremendous. So I imagine both of them will work rather nicely.
Okay.
Linux isn't what it used to be. Right? It's very, very approachable, very clean, very nice, and very easy to use. And there is that extra level if you want to go that extra level.
And if we get stuck, we'll ask Ian Barton.
Yes. Right. Well, we'll move into some of the news. I'll start with the ridiculous one. About a lady who was photographed doing something that ladies do behind closed doors by her robot vacuum, not with her robot vacuum, and it managed to somehow post the image onto Facebook, which is bonkers. Ted, what exactly happened here?
Well, it's a bit of a headline grabber, really, because the truth is that this woman was involved in a trial, a development trial with the company that have produced this robot vacuum cleaner. So it wasn't just an ordinary member of the public. But yes, obviously something went wrong, and she was doing something intimate, and I think that the thing is supposed to take photographs. Why is the thing supposed to take photographs? I did read this earlier or yesterday.
Security? I know you can have security built into these things.
Yeah, it was some reason. There was some legitimate thing they were testing. The company iRobot were testing the camera thing out to see if they could develop that to be useful. As I say, it's a bit of a silly story, really, because it was all part of a trial, but it was quite a fun headline.
Yeah, it beggars belief, and it's obviously going to be very negative press for that company and general robot vacuum cleaners in general. I know that you can have a camera on it. Obviously, it uses a camera to be able to navigate around, and you can. If you are aware of something going on in your house, you could use the camera to secure it in a way, or check on something, and it can also tell you if, say a window's broken or something. I remember a company was really chuffed with the ability to do that, and you could send the robot vacuum cleaner in to investigate the burglars and stuff, take their pictures. But for it to actually link up and post things to Facebook is a bit of a stretch.
I don't know how that's done that. It's obviously part of their trials, isn't it? I've now found the bit in question. It says the images were supposed to be sent to various global contractors, including Scale IA in Venezuela, which was tasked with enhancing the robot's artificial intelligence capabilities. So it was all part of a trial, and she was obviously being paid to be part of the trial, I would guess. Or she got a free vacuum cleaner out of it.
Well, yeah, I'm just having a quick research into it, and some are suggesting that perhaps this might have been a publicity stunt.
Ah, right. Well, they've succeeded, unless you edit this out then.
And I think the company may have done something like this in the past. But, well, we'll see. You never know. It's a funny idea. It is. But without photographs to corroborate, then we'll just have to say it's legit. Yeah. Yes. Send us the photographs, and we'll judge for ourselves.
And some video, please.
All right. British government are stepping in to ensure that people don't have weak passwords. If you have a weak password, you could be put in prison for 12 months at the taxpayer's expense. Isn't that what the whole gist of this story, Ted?
No, the gist of the story is that the UK government are banning device manufacturers from shipping devices with simple 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 passwords, or 0, passwords, or password. Yeah. They're stopping admin passwords from being simple, because the reality is, in terms of security, people don't change them and they just leave them as they do. And I must admit, I'm guilty of doing that with these low-level devices. And that's it, basically. They're going to stop OEMs from... They've got to make a proper password and presumably ship that on a bit of paper in the box.
Well, yeah. I suppose the whole argument is that if you were to have a password, and it was password, but you changed the W to a capital W, that's still a great deal more secure than what it had been. Because, it's going to take a while for someone to actually guess that. Yeah. And they have to guess that you would be someone who would change it ever so slightly.
I tell you what I'm guilty of is having routers with the router password that it was supplied with, which is written on the back of the router, and not changing it ever.
Well, at least we now know that if we want to hack your router.
And my mum and dad's house, they've got the same thing as well. It's just whenever they need to put it into a device, they just go and look at the back of the router because it's easier.
Yeah. But you need something like Bitwarden then, that's just a password manager, and you can... I've actually thought about taking out the Pro subscription this week, so that I can get their... I think it's the Authenticator that it works with as well, because it's so much better than the likes of Google's Authenticator, Microsoft, or even Authy as well. I was watching a video recently about securing it, because I'm big into my security at the moment and getting everything locked down. Mm-hmm. Not that I'm inviting anyone to come and try and test my locking methods, because you think you've got things locked down, but whereas if you left a couple of windows open, people can quite easily just hack in and kill you.
Yes, indeed, with a large knife.
Well, one of the most exciting things that we're going to be talking about this show is the whole idea that NASA has managed to achieve 25 megabytes per second. No, megabits per second. Megabits per second. I saw the capital M and I thought, over 140 million miles, which is better than quite a lot of people's home broadband is actually managing to...
From down the road.
Well, yeah, I was away at the weekend, staying in a cottage out near a place called a loch called Erne, and the broadband was so pitiful there. The edge connection that I was able to get down by the lake was really pitiful as well. It's like, how do these people survive out here without better internet going into the town centre? It was crap. I think there was 3G and that was about it, but it was really slow. But NASA can manage to do this. Is there something special that they're deploying here? Are they using lasers or carrier pigeons?
I don't know. But where is this thing? It's 140 million miles away. The thing is just outside the line of the orbit of Mars, by the looks of it. Mm. And they managed to hit 267 megabits per second at one point. And they've sent a cat picture
How appropriate.
Yeah.
Well, it is by laser, and there's one sort of fairly important thing to point out, is that whenever they transmit this information from A to B, there aren't any concrete walls or trees or hills, mounds of earth in the way to disrupt it. So it is kind of a line of sight thing, even though you can't see what it is you're being transmitted to. If you have a approximate idea of where it's going, then it'll probably get there uninterrupted despite all the cosmic radiation, little green men and dust particles that are out there. But the cat arrived untarnished.
What is that thing? It's called the Psycho. Is it called the Psycho?
The Psyche.
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 Right. I don't know anything about that.
No, they didn't consult you whenever they were doing this?
Bloody well
didn't. Flippin' heck,
I'm
right.
going to have a word.
I'll email Jeff Bridges and ask him to go down. Jeff Daniels, he's the head of NASA, isn't he? And to head down there and sort you out.
Yeah. Anyway, the point of this story was that, you're quite right, is that there's no excuses for crap connection speeds on Earth if they can do this. But as you say, it's a slightly different thing, really, with nothing in the way. And lasers.
Yeah, there's no mounds of Earth, which we tend to have here on Earth. There's mounds of Earth all over the show.
Yeah, we were assessing that yesterday because my parents live in this house, which is much
on a mound of Earth.
What is much more towards under the foot of, even though it's only a mile and a half away, under the foot of the rise of Mount Snowdon, as you start to go up the hills, and the EE connection there is just diabolical. I said to them, go a mile and a half down the road to where I live, and it's just brilliant. I've got hugely impressive connection speeds up and down, and then go up there and you can barely make a phone call.
Right, yeah.
So you're right.
But that's why they say that they only cater to 99% of the UK. That 1% is where you happen to be at the time.
Indeed, and that's because of a mound.
Yes. Well, one thing that can be in a mound and also not be in a mound is water. That was a slinky link, if ever there was one. But there's a new 400 horsepower water engine that's better than the hydrogen ones, and it could end electricity. Not end electricity, but it could resolve the need for electricity to be generated the way that it's generated. This is it's an engine that goes into a car, and it could have a 1,000 kilometre range, which is 15 times more powerful than batteries that you get. I didn't actually see how much water you put into it, or if it has to be a particular type of water. I'm guessing you can't just fill this up from the tap.
No, you need to use hydrogen gas, which
isn't water.
Well, hydrogen gas, I suppose. Anyway, I'm no chemist, but the bottom line is hydrogen gas is injected into the combustion chamber, which makes it like an internal combustion engine, then compressed and ignited by a spark plug, just like a petrol engine. This combustion of hydrogen and air drives the pistons up and down to produce the power in the traditional way. The main byproduct emitted by the exhaust is water vapour rather than carbon dioxide, and that's the whole point of it. So they're running an internal combustion engine, but instead of using petrol and fossil fuels, if you like, they're using water, bottom line, and making the explosion to drive the pistons from water and or hydrogen gas and air. But yeah, that's as much as I know, really. It sounds like it's likely to put the petrol companies out of business, doesn't it?
Well, it's effectively a steam engine, isn't it? It's just a very nicely refined steam engine.
Yeah, exactly.
But does it take pictures and post them to Facebook? Because it'll be crap if it doesn't.
Yeah. Anyway, I'm sure that this won't be appearing any minute soon. I expect Shell and BP will have a thing to say about that.
I think it was about this time last year that we talked about how Toyota had come up with a new hydrogen engine that was ridiculously efficient and was going to end the need for even electric engines and coal fire and all that kind of stuff, gas-powered engines. But it's just disappeared off the face of the earth, and no one really talks about it very much.
I'm sure that a large part of this is the holdback on technology is to do with shareholders and money and people, all joking aside, companies like BP and Shell and all of Saudi Arabia, no doubt, and all the rest of it, they're all kind of saying, well, hang on a minute, our whole export but is based around oil, and don't let water be the thing. And the other thing is that eventually, if everyone uses all the water, we'll run out of water quicker.
Well, there is a distinct lack of water in certain areas. If you have a look into the Panama Canal, it's not operating properly because there's a lack of water. Look at Lake Mead. It's a wee bit empty during the summer these days, and they keep discovering bodies and things. If people are filling up their cars from Lake Mead, it'll be a lot less.
Oh, I wonder if you can use seawater.
Well, that's the ultimate thing, isn't it? And then what it could do is the engine could then extract the salt, and then the salt could be used to feed people.
Yeah, put it on your chips.
That was a joke from Top Secret, wasn't it?
Oh, was it? Sorry, I missed that.
No, it's just come to me whenever I said it. Dr. Flamange in the Nazi prison is working on a way of turning seawater into fresh water, and extracting all the salt from seawater, so that they would have more salt than you could ever imagine to feed the starving nations of the world. Never mind fresh water.
Top what?
Top Secret.
Top Secret. I've never heard of it.
It's like Airplane with Val Kilmer.
Right.
Sorry, we're on. This is Tech Addicts.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Carry
on. Right, Ukraine. Ukraine has unveiled a new AI-generated foreign minister. I'm not. This isn't an April Fool's. It can't be. It's got to be. Really. I suppose there is one big pro for having an AI-generated foreign minister, and that is that they're not going to get assassinated too easily. But otherwise, having an unelected official in a particular department making decisions that might not be what the public want or are voting for is a difficult thing to quantify.
Gareth, it's not a real person.
I know, but you need to have a real person. I mean, we had Grant Shapps for... Oh, right, yeah. I suppose a bucket full of vomit would do better then, wouldn't it?
No, this is... the Ukraine government have decided that when they make televised speeches of any sort, they'll just use this AI-generated image. It's actually someone called Victoria She, who is... modelled on a singer and some sort of celebrity, Rosaline Nombre, which I've never heard of, but apparently it looks like her. And whenever, in a kind of Boris Johnson during COVID type way, every evening they'll stick her up on the TV and just talk to the nation. And it's a real. I mean, it all sounds very bizarre, but it's a really interesting idea. And I haven't actually seen a moving image of it working, but I'm sure it's going to be really, really well done.
You can't call it "it." That's terrible.
Oh, sorry.
You have to call it. I don't know what's the pronoun for an AI.
It's not a she, is it?
No, it can't be an it, because that'll hurt the feelings of the AI.
She's very pretty. I mean, it's very pretty.
No. The AI is very pretty.
They.
But they're not a real person.
No. I don't know what it is.
Yeah. We'll have to come up with something quick. We're probably not the best people to do that. I dare say there's probably an AI minister that will want to do that for us. Right, moving on to more AI. Scary AI, this one. An AI-controlled test jet fighter has taken to the skies. The idea that I suppose we have drones that are controlled by, if we just see the movies and the TV shows, by men and women in little special cargo containers in the middle of the desert. They can go out and use their drones and attack or gain intel that way. This is an actual fully fledged pilotless jet fighter that's been sent up, but it's an F-16 fighter, which is orange and white, so you can tell from the other ones. It's the one without anyone sitting in the cockpit. If you happen to see it flying by, and it flew for more than 550 miles an hour, and there was a length of time that it was up, but I've forgotten what it is now. But I did read it earlier. It might not have been this article that Ted you've put in the
550 miles an hour, and 1,000 within 1,000 feet of another one. The hour-long flight. Apparently, there was some politician sat in the seat while they did this.
Right.
Some American politician who was kind of sitting there. Oh, here he is. The U.S. Air Force Secretary Frank Kendall was sat in the seat, not doing anything except being part of it. But I was watching this video the other day of a woman who was getting a lift from a driverless car. And it was just like phenomenal how far things have come. You're right, that we've got drones in the sky anyway, we know that, and the various countries are using all sorts of technology to drop bombs and stuff, but having planes flying around that have got no one in them, like a driverless car, I'm not sure. Are you?
No, I'm terrified by this idea. It's not... AI's great and all for, sitting down and having a wee go at it yourself in a browser or something, and spotting the inaccuracies that it reports back to you because it's not able to efficiently give you what you need to know or do exactly what you're looking for it to do. So putting it in charge of something that could potentially crash into someone's house and kill them because, something didn't work out correctly, some measurement didn't make sense. It's not going to go down particularly well. Whenever humans make those sorts of mistakes, at least you've got a reason to blame it, to blame the human or to blame the fighter. But whenever it comes to an AI mistake, who takes the blame? Is it the person who created the AI? Would Copilot be? Well, that's I've just realised there. Would Copilot be to blame for anything that goes wrong with AI, or is there something in the terms and conditions to say that this isn't our fault if everything goes wrong?
Good question, yeah. But it's however much we're sceptical about it, it's going to happen. Even though the technology is not fully developed, they say, the service is planning for an AI-enabled fleet of more than 1,000 unmanned warplanes, the first of them operating by 2028. So this is 4 years away, less than 4 years away, and it's going to happen. 1,000 warplanes.
Yeah. That's a bit scary.
Mm-hmm.
And, I suppose I got a lot of negative feedback during the week as well, especially when you consider, Apple obviously had their event where they announced a new iPad that is very much AI driven, and they had an advert that showed a giant pressing device squishing the life out of everything that was beloved over the last 20 years, 30 years, 40 years, record players, guitars, and all those sorts of things. And even Hugh Grant, I think, chimed in on it as well, because, Apple are saying that you won't need these things anymore because your iPad can do it all for you, which is horrible to think about. And I understand exactly what he means, and, he's getting some general kind of people complaining about him not being in touch with tech, but I understand his principal message here is that, where we we embrace something like this, it does actually come at the expense of other things that we grew up with, that we used in the past.
Mm-hmm.
So we won't need pilots anymore.
No.
And we won't need soldiers, and we won't need ministers. I suppose there's no loss there. Yeah, we could have the whole of the Houses of Parliament running with AI instead of anyone else. But then AI can get hacked, and the Russians or Israel could be in charge of our Houses of Parliament without us actually knowing.
I'm not sure what humans will end up doing eventually in 100 years' time. They'll just be sitting there on beaches, I suppose, twiddling their thumbs while AI runs the world and gets on with it.
Yeah, but who then makes the money to be able to buy the food?
The robots.
I know, but do we just all get a certain amount?
Yeah, that's the latest plan for replacing universal credit, isn't it? Everyone gets a certain amount of money per month or whatever it is, and regardless of whether you've got a job or not got a job, or if you need benefits or don't need benefits. What's it called? It's called something. They piloted it in Scotland, I think, and they reckon bizarrely they reckon it works. And
yeah, I do remember that it was like everyone gets 150 or £1,500 a month. It's like a basic wage, and then your employer only pays you a little bit more to top it up, so your employer could end up only paying you, say, £400 a month instead, because the government is giving you £1,500. Or
if you don't work, then that's it. But knowing
you just get the £1,500.
Yeah, and most people probably will say, "Oh, that'll do me. That's me beer money."
Yeah.
Anyway,
well, we'll see. It might become. I do remember that it sounded potentially quite exciting, but at the same time, if you want more, then you have to go out and earn it.
Yeah.
Right. Going into hardware rather than talking about these deep social dynamics. Astral and Kern are taking on the Sony Walkman with a new Activo brand and a P1 player. So these are little portable, expensive MP3 players that you can take with you on the go, and they look delicious. Ted, do tell us about them.
Challenging the Sony Walkman, and we spoke recently, I think, on this show about the NWA306, because somebody in our MeWe group bought one and was kind of testing it out. I've got a feeling he might have returned it, but we were talking about convergence against divergence and getting core things out of smartphones and using things in standalone devices. Now, the Sony Walkman is still going, and that I think that the NWA306 is very attractive and a good idea. There's other devices from FIO, for example. I've never had an Astral and Kern device at all because, as you say, they're really expensive normally. This one, the last one that they pushed out was £800, just as a starting point. But yeah, and it's dinky and small, and the battery's doing nothing else except driving the headphones for you. And I just think this is all, yet again, back to this whole question of, do we want our smartphone to do everything for us, or do we want to have separate devices? And I think there's a place for possibly both, but I like this. I like having a separate device. The only trouble is we've got so used to right. For example, you're walking down the road and you're doing your steps because you've got to do so many steps a bloody day, and you've got your headphones plugged into your MP3 player, your Astral and Kern, if you like. But if the Google Assistant then wants to tell you that you've got something, an alarm or something, you won't hear it because the phone, if you had the phone doing the thing, it would chime in and tell you. So yes, you might miss stuff. And so that there's always two sides to every story, isn't there? But I just like the fact that, moving back a bit towards divergence away from convergence, And no doubt this thing's... I haven't looked at this, but I was going to say, no doubt it runs Android like the Sony one does, an older version of Android. So maybe those things would work as well. I'm waffling now. Your turn.
Well, no, I think there is... You're absolutely right. There was a reason why everyone liked everything in one device. Interruptions are useful when wanted and annoying when unwanted. Mm-hmm. So I went out and bought myself a wee iRiver, as I said a couple of weeks ago.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Just so that I could achieve that. I can put my headphones in my ears and enjoy my IHP 140 from iRiver, which gives really good quality. Not spectacular. You know, this is obviously going to sound a lot better, but you have to pay for it.
Yeah.
And I don't mean, it's not fair that we have to pay for things, going back to our last conversation, but it's £800, which is the price of a phone.
It is kind of top end, though. It's got all the stuff you'd expect with all the clever, fancy the 32-bit audio. Mind you can get that in an average Samsung phone now, can't you?
Yeah.
It's got a 4.4mm. What was it we were looking at? Was it on the last show that had a 4.4mm output as well as a 3.5? Can't remember what it was now.
It was a wee white phone.
Was it a phone? Oh, yeah, that's right. It was that phone, wasn't it? That high
H10 or something.
Yeah. Anyway, so for those that have got the money, 800 quid, then, if they're really into this stuff, that might be just the ticket. Have you ever had anything from Astle and Kern?
No, but I spoke to the person who sold me this iRiver, and they've moved to that from the iRiver, so it's the next logical step. As opposed to the £40 iRiver that I picked up. Yeah, the next step is an £800 Astle and Kern.
Or somewhere in the middle, there's a Fio.
Yes, nice one, because we're going to go to that, because that was the story before that I managed to skip over. The Fio have introduced Fio, F-I-I-O, have introduced new 20 balanced armature speakers, which are inside of their new in-ear monitor headphones that have 3D printed high-res shells to them. These look quite nice, and again, you have to pay for them.
Yeah, well, how much are they? £1,000?
£1,000, so more expensive than the actual brains behind the music operation.
They sound, they sound, inverted commas, as though they're a serious bit of kit, though, aren't they? Audiophile special. IEMs, in-ear monitors.
Yeah.
The only in-ear monitors I've seen up to now have been ones that have got a cable, but these ones in the photographs don't appear to have a cable.
They have a plug for a cable, so you can cable them if you want to.
Oh, okay. But so they're Bluetooth as well, probably then. Which might defeat the object a bit of getting the sound being absolutely perfect for audiophiles. But anyway, they've got 20. Well, in each of the two ear plugs, they've got or are they called buds? They're plugs or buds. Each of those things, they've got 10. Speakers, whatever armature speakers means. This is all a bit beyond me, to be honest. I'm not an audiophile, but it obviously sounds like it's all very, very top end, and people who know about this stuff will no doubt be really, really impressed with this.
Yeah, no, it's just another. It's a step toward a wireless IEM, which I think. I don't know that people are really demanding, but if you were just think about people with AirPods, how often they lose them. If you have a look at the train tracks, there's always an AirPod sitting down there, and if you were to lose one or both of these, you'd be beside yourself.
You'd want some insurance, wouldn't you?
Yeah, that's another reason why I think audiophiles like wires, and they're not enthusiastic about wireless ones, because it's just harder to lose. These look tiny, so they could fall out of your ears very easily. But at the same time, they're just gorgeous looking. I would really like a pair, but you'd have to list them on your house insurance.
Indeed, you would.
Yeah. The last thing in this section is matter. Actually, not a matter that is in one and all of us, but actually matter, the initiative that is attempting to do good things with smart home systems and try to establish, like a basic level. I've forgotten the word for it. I'm not doing well today. I'm not remembering words.
Connection and communication between devices.
Like a centralized standard for all smart home hubs, so that they're not all, a bit wonky in their own ways. But Matter have launched version 1.3. Which supports yet more appliances, and various EV chargers too, and it can be extended to microwave ovens, regular ovens, cooktops, extractor hoods, laundry dryers, and things, which is great. However, I do feel that Matter is being somewhat overlooked by the big tech bastards, Amazon, Google, Apple, and other smart home manufacturers haven't implemented even Matter 1.2, let alone 1.3, into their hardware. So your Google Home and your Alexa will probably still continue to be a little bit underwhelming, despite Matter's best efforts to make things a wee bit better. What do you say, Ted?
Beautifully summarised. I can't add a thing to that. Except you didn't mention cars, did you?
No.
So the EV chargers, I think, refers to cars, which means that, like you say, this all depends on manufacturers of devices building this in and playing ball with it. And if they're not doing that, then it's not going to work anyway. I think that Zuckerberg was supporting this, wasn't he, in a big way at one point? I don't know if he's still involved, but. The whole
well, I think they all did whenever Matter first came together. They had the backing of most of the big companies, the big tech bastards, and instead they're like, well, it's going to be extra work and resources for us to implement this, so we're not interested in doing that. And why should we all have the same features and the same experience for the user whenever ours is obviously better than theirs. Mm-hmm. But, if you sit down with your Google Home, it's... Well, mine is crap. It is absolute crap. It was much better when it first came out. Now, it just does not work. It decides to do things like, say, for example, something as simple as... It keeps telling me after every time I use broadcast that I can now broadcast to a specific place. I was like, I know, you told me that last year, and you've told me every time I've broadcast since then. So I do that, and I'll say I'll broadcast to my son's bedroom to say dinner's ready. Sometimes it'll broadcast to his room, me saying dinner's ready. Other times it'll send it off to, I don't know, some Google farm somewhere for it to recognise what I'm saying, and then the female voice assistant will say dinner's ready. Other times it'll do a little chime, and it's like, woohoo, it's that time of the day when dinner's ready. So it's completely inconsistent. And I feel that they just don't care anymore. They've sold all the products and they're just moving on.
The difference with that example, though, and Matter, as I understand it, is that Matter doesn't rely on a network connection in your home or anything. Mm-hmm. It builds its own connection. And if your microwave oven has got Matter built into it, because the OEM has decided they're going to put it in, and your app on your phone has got that, then that will talk directly to the microwave oven without any reference to any router or network or Bluetooth or anything. This is a standalone connectivity protocol, which is supposed to work independently of everything else. And that's the problem, is because everything else, as you just described, is people attempting to use networks that are already in place in order to do things like sending messages around and using Google Home and all the rest of it. And so this wouldn't rely on any of the established big boys, except that everyone's got to build it in, and that's where it's coming unstuck, it seems.
Yeah, yeah, and it seems that they just want to, in an effort to try to stop people exploiting it and getting interfering with the metrics that they're collecting or whatever, they have to lock everything down. Yeah, there was a wonderful time whenever Google had it all opened up and you were able to install all these different devices that weren't off this stupid big list. And you'd be able to achieve stuff with it, and you could tinker with it and play with it and get it to, bring in other cameras that may not have actually worked or something, if you have some security. But now they've got to be on the list of guaranteed manufacturers, and even then, it's not going to work. You're not going to achieve all of the bits and pieces that the camera says that it can do. And that's what Matter need to be able to do. We need to have some sort of, essentially like a new Linux-based platform that we can install into our smart devices, because there's only a few different standards. Alexa uses all of its, Apple uses all of its, and then Google uses all of its. And if we could just roll out our own and be able to choose, because you've bought the hardware, they're not really supporting the hardware terribly well. I have my big Google Home Max beside me, and whenever I bought that, I thought, I love this thing. It was like that Apple ad where they were crushing everything, because I was like, my vinyl player and things like that, they can be, but I'll put a cover over them and leave them there, because I'm going to be using this for all my musical needs, and I'll sit in front of it and go, wow, this is really good. One device that just booms out the sound, and it sounded fantastic. But that novelty wore off quite quickly. Now it's lucky if it sees me set an appointment once a week, because I'll just go to my phone and do it manually, because it works. That works. We need someone who has the knowledge and the know-how, like we've seen with, say, Pi-holes and all these wonderful things that people are building out there to be able to squeeze onto these devices and overwrite what's already there and give you a better experience with these devices that are populating your house. That'll do. I'm being a bit whingy today. I'm sorry. I'm tired. Right, into Wearables Watch. Amazfit Helio Ring has been priced and is getting a US release date. Ted, we did touch on the Amazfit ring before, didn't we?
Yeah, we're coming soon kind of thing. My big problem with this, we know what it's going to do. It's going to be just, all the health tracking, everything will only work with Amazfit stuff and nothing else. Unlike the Samsung ring that is on its way any minute, which will work. Well, actually, the higher end stuff with the Samsung ring will probably only work with Samsung stuff, but I'm sure that they're working very hard to make sure that it can be used with other equipment on a basic level, like their watches do. But the Amazon Amazfit, I'm not sure how broadly that will be adopted. Anyway, they're going to flog it in July, I do believe. Yeah, July. And it's going to be $300, only available in America to begin with. And the Samsung Galaxy event, where they're going to clearly highlight the Galaxy Ring, is going to be in July as well. I really don't see how they're going to try and sell this when the Galaxy Ring is going to just be more capable, particularly if they build in the stuff in the Galaxy Ring that they're talking about possibly building in, which is just going to make it more clever. I don't know. Do you know anyone that's got an Amazfit anything?
I know one person who has an Amazfit watch that they bought off Amazon because it was it got really good reviews across the board, and it was really quite cheap. It wasn't too cheap, but it wasn't terribly expensive. I'm gonna guess it was maybe about £100 or something. And given the amount of things that it did, it challenged their need for like a Fitbit, or it did more than a Fitbit, and then did less than an Apple Watch, but it wasn't anywhere near the price of that. So they picked it up and they absolutely adored it.
Right.
Because it did everything they wanted it to do, what they expected it to do. It was decent build quality and it was a really good price. I'm actually on Amazon now, just having a quick look at to see what they are actually selling, because I haven't checked them out in a while. And the their prices are a good bit more than what I had taken into account for what I expected they were. Yeah, they're putting their prices up, and this ring is a perfect example of that. $300 is quite a lot.
It is, yeah. The other thing we were talking about before was about sizing. Now, this Amazon ring says that it's going to come in one size, but that later on they might be introducing different sizes. Now, what we know about the Galaxy ring so far, what we think we know about the Galaxy ring, is that they're going to have some clever mechanism inside it which is going to account for that and kind of open up or close up or be in some way flexible to give you different sizing. Whereas this Amazfit ring, you can see a picture of it there, and you can see there's nothing inside it that would indicate that, you've just got to... I mean, are they going to produce A to Z on the ring scale for every person that might want one of these? I just don't get how they're going to manage that bit if they don't make it flexible or pliable in some way, like Samsung are talking.
I suppose that's that you could argue that's been the way with rings since the start of time.
Yeah, of course, but they're not going to... A ring is a ring, fair enough, but it's a dumb ring. There's nothing clever about it. These things are costing a lot of money. Well, I suppose rings can cost a lot of money as well, but...
Yeah, my wedding ring cost quite a bit.
Yeah, well.
I don't want to lose weight because it falls off.
Anyway, I think that this ring will just fall flat, and the Samsung ring will just take the world by storm, and everyone will have a Samsung ring, and then Google will make one, and then Apple will make one, and all the big boys will have them, and Amazon will be floundering in the background somewhere. This is my prediction. We shall see.
Amazon?
Amazfit.
Yes, that's better.
Yes.
I don't think it's going to take flight at all. I don't see the ring being something that at any time I've ever mentioned it to someone, they're like, no, why would you? Why would you? Why would you? A runner likes to be able to see their time on their wrist. Needs to be able to see their beats per second, or their mile a minute or whatever, or the minutes to mile. That's what it is. So the ring's not going to be able to do that unless they take a phone with them or they wear a smartwatch, which defeats the purpose of the ring.
I don't know, you could charge it up like that payment ring that Aidan Bell had. So you pre-charge. He got this ring which you pre-charged with money, and then you can use it to pay in Tesco. But when it runs out of credit, you've got to go and top it up again. It could be in terms of that function. I don't know. We don't really know, do we?
Well, no, but even those rings are available, and I think Aidan is the only person in the UK who's actually bought one. Pretty sure. Yeah. Or at least the only person I've ever heard of that has bought one. And he still has that novelty factor, even all these years later, of going into a shop and people are like, hey, what's that you're using?
Yeah, which is why he doesn't use it anymore.
Oh, right, okay, yeah.
He gave up using it for that very reason. He got fed up with people saying, wow.
Even where it's built into your watch, I think I've only ever seen someone pay for something once with their watch.
Right.
Use your phone, yeah. But, I see this as a dead duck in the water already.
Yeah.
Yeah. Speaking of another dead duck in the water, that would be Razer and their Zephyr face mask.
Whoops.
I was looking at the Ford Zephyr at the weekend.
Oh,
there.
right.
Yeah, it's a bit different to this, but you probably need one of these if you're standing around the back of a Ford Zephyr. Mm-hmm. This was a mask that I know we talked about on here some time ago, back in 2021 it would appear. That was a super mask. I think I actually mentioned this on TalkSport as well when I was doing it too. This has an N90, or it was to have had an N95 medical grade respirator protection built into it, which never quite came to fruition. And people who bought it based on that were a bit mad whenever it didn't turn up with it. But Razer have since said, yeah,
we're sorry.
well, they disagree with the FTC's allegations, but it's not that level. But they didn't go and get the certification to say that it was the N95 medical grade respiratory protection level that they were boasting it would have. Did you buy one of these?
No. How much were they anyway? I can't remember. Does it say on here? I can't see a price that they've sold them out at. The only references to the price is the $1.1 million fine that they've been charged for being very naughty and not living up to their claims. And there's a $100,000 civil penalty on top of that to refund everyone that bought one. I can't imagine they sold many of them, surely.
No,
perhaps
it was $100.
Maybe just gamers bought them. Oh, it was $100, was it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I suppose gamers, where they're sitting in their own feces for most of the day, this would really help.
Actually, gamers wouldn't buy them because they don't go out from their basement, do they? So they wouldn't need an N95 mask.
No. Oh, there was also a Zephyr Pro as well. It was $150.
Oh, was there?
It was launched in 2022.
Oh, wow. They've really come unstuck with this, haven't they? Poor
have.
Razer. Good job, Razer have got pots of money.
And that Zephyr Pro as well also had the N95 grade filters.
Yeah, allegedly.
Yeah. Right. Okay. Well, yeah, they look fun. I didn't buy one, Ted didn't buy one, and I'm pretty sure that you listening to this didn't buy one. So, bummer. Right, Black Shark GS3.
You'll like this. This is right up your street. A ruggedized Black Shark watch, like some of your Casio watches.
Yeah. Unfortunately, it doesn't run Wear OS, but then no one really talks about Wear OS these days, do they? So tell us about the Black Shark GS3.
Well, the most interesting thing about it, I think, is that it's rugged and and it's cheap as chips. They're talking about a pre-order price of $70, which means it's going to be, less than £100. And it's, it might be proprietary, but it seems to have the whole kind of thing going on. The Xiaomi ecosystem involved, of course, because that's where the company kind of... actually, I thought Xiaomi had sold Black Shark, and it was a standalone company, didn't they? This article doesn't mention that. Anyway, you can see from the pictures there that it's clearly robust, and it's chunky, and it's not the kind of size of thing I'd want on my wrist, but we've had this discussion before, and you've always said that you would tolerate things like this because you used to back in the day. Gorilla Glass on the front, IP69K. The only time I've ever seen IP69K anywhere on a mobile device before was that Nokia XR21, I think it was, which is supposed to be... protection against some sort of chemical, wasn't it, as well as everything else? Or was it heat? Maybe it was heat. Anyway, and I'm struggling to find anything more interesting to say about it, really, because, the battery life is said to be 21 days if you use it in the right way, and it's got all the usual kind of heart rate and oxygen, blood oxygen stuff and all the rest of it. And as you say, where did you see that it doesn't run Wear OS? I didn't pick up on that.
It runs for 21 days.
Well, it can't be Wear OS.
That's a telltale sign. No, I'm just having a quick look at it because I wanted to see if I could pick one up, actually, because I do quite fancy it. I noticed that it's based off of the Black Shark GT3, which is their more sensible executive watch type affair. But most of the listings, where you're reading off that listing from Notebook Check, it says that it's IP69K. The other listings listed as IP68 waterproof.
Yeah, because this one is the rugged one, and as I was saying, that this is the one that's got the... Is it chemical or heat? I can't remember. I've got a feeling it's heat, actually, that the 69K bit is to do with blazing temperatures, isn't it?
But this is GS3 is the same one. I've moved on from the GT3. It's a different. But a review of the Black Shark GS3 by ChineseSmartwatches.com. They listed as having IP68.
Oh, I see. So there's conflicting data then. Right.
Yeah.
Okay. The other thing is that I didn't realise is that there's no global release on this yet. It's China only. But I guess that in time it will probably be globally released. Black Shark stuff tended to get released in Europe, if not in the UK, and you could get it from like Amazon France or Germany or Spain or something.
Ireland.
Yes. Anyway, I thought you might be interested in that because it looks like one of your old great big Casio watches.
Yeah. No, I am. But I want to move away from the whole smartwatch side of things and just have a little digital assistant built into a proper watch that goes, here, you've got a message. And that's about it. It doesn't have to show me anything else.
Okay.
Just a little bit of interaction. Which is not what Samsung does with their Galaxy watches, which could have an AI-powered heart rate. Health upgrade.
Right. Now, the change here, I've just remembered why I posted this one, is because at the moment, my Galaxy Watch, if you want to do your ECG, you have to put it on your wrist and you have to launch the application and put your finger on a button and hold it there for a minute and it gives you your ECG, okay? And the difference here is what they're saying is that in the next generation of Galaxy watches, they're going to have that happening all the time through the sensor on the back of your on the back of it, touching your skin. So you won't need to go through that whole kind of test, sit there and wait for it, trap, and it will just happen automatically. So yeah, that's the news here, I think.
Yeah, I think I remember you posted that in the MeWe group. Actually, that was kind of interesting that there's a way around it, isn't there? Yeah. Cool. All right. Let's move into the phone zone. We've only got one little story here because you should check out the Phone Show chat where Ted and Steve talk about phones for a long time. This is the HTC. I've lost the name of it.
U24 Pro.
U24 Pro that could be arriving at some point. That's right. HTC, we say. Haven't heard of them in a while, at least since the last U23 Pro that came out last year. This is expected to have a Snapdragon 7 Gen 3 system on chip with 12 gigabytes of RAM and 256 gigabytes of storage, and will be shipping with Android 14 out of the box.
Hurrah!
And it could be launched as soon as May, which is this month, isn't it? Yeah. Wow. It'll have a $350 price tag, folks speculate, which will mirror what the U23 Pro had last year, and could well be HTC's way back into your heart.
Oh, not nice. I was just looking at the specs of the U23 Pro, which I've never seen on sale anywhere, incidentally. And it's standard kind of fare, really. It's got an OLED panel, a 6.7-inch one, 1080p, a Snapdragon 7 Gen 1. It's got a card slot, micro SD card slot. You can get a 12 gig of RAM version of it, 108 megapixel main camera. It's got one single loudspeaker. Perhaps they'll bring stereo speakers to this one. 3.5mm audio jack, and wireless charging, Qi charging, and reverse wireless charging, a side-mounted fingerprint scanner. This actually looks really nice. I wonder if they've kept it up to date. For those that could buy this, maybe it went out to India, did it? Perhaps you could only buy it. Perhaps they targeted the Indian market. Let's have a look. No, you can buy it in Amazon UK, £338.57, and that is coming from Amazon EU. Okay.
Ooh.
So you can still buy this. I hadn't realised this. It looks really nice. I want one now.
Be nice to have an HTC in your pocket again.
It would, wouldn't it? But not with a crappy mono speaker, thank you.
Well, they did chamber speakers, didn't they? If memory serves, that sounded even better.
Chamber.
Yeah, they would dig out huge chambers, and it would sort of it would blast the sound out.
Oh, on the M7 and M8, you mean? Yeah. They were great. They sounded great. But this U23 Pro, apparently, according to GSM Arena, has only got a single speaker. So they've obviously not kept that up. Perhaps, yeah, as I say, maybe in the U24 Pro, that's something that they'll fix.
Maybe. Hopefully.
Mm-hmm.
Well, one thing that's possibly being fixed, and we're going to slip into the name of the game section here, is the Asus ROG Ally 2, which is going to be the next generation of the handheld that came out 15 minutes ago, wasn't it? Maybe 20. They're looking for, basic improvements with improved screens and narrower bezels of things, fixing the unreliable SD card slot.
I hadn't heard about that. Had you? They reckon that people that have bought this have got
both of them.
Yes. What was it that was wrong with it? It kept corrupting the card, and physical damage from heat. And they reckon that they needed to move the heat shielding so that it was more effective for the cards. I'd not heard anything about that.
No, but this isn't the Steam Deck, so it's not the most popular device on the block. I reckon that this has been quite small.
Okay.
It would be a small amount of the total percentage of units that are out there will probably be affected by this as well.
Mm-hmm.
It might not have been. There was no recall announced on it anyway.
Right.
People would like to have a second USB Type-C slot thrown into it as well, and it would be nice for them to do a wee bit of a redesign. I can't imagine it going. It's going to be PlayStation 1 to PlayStation 2 to PlayStation 3 kind of sizable jumps. It'll just be a bit like the Switch, which has been refreshed every couple of years, but Asus are going to do it not every couple of years.
Yeah, but a second USB-C port, I think, would be a really good idea. I do agree, because you want to be able to charge it at the same time as putting it out to a big display or something, don't you?
Yeah.
So, but you reckon that this is sold badly, do you, the first one?
Well, it's up against stiff competition. I'm not saying that it's sold badly. I just really think that the Steam Deck is the king of the ring here, and anything else is pale by comparison.
Asus ROG. Let's see how much it is on Amazon today. Asus ROG Ally 599. So it's not been reduced in price.
Yeah, no, one of them was reduced in price. Was it Razer's one last week? Or last?
The Logitech one is on Osher. The Logitech G is on special offer.
Yeah, that's not quite the same thing. The Lenovo, it got a price drop, I think.
Yeah, that's right.
But I don't think the Asus has yet. But you never know. Whenever a new one comes along, you might be able to pick up the original one. With its heat issues, for a lot less.
Yes.
Why not? Moving on to another portable games console that's getting a bit of a refresh, and that will be the Nintendo Switch 2. Which is, I'm sick to death of the Nintendo Switch 2 over the years. I think Nintendo very much are like, it ain't broke, so let's not fix it. And this won't be the Nintendo Switch 2, it'll just be, because they did the Nintendo Switch OLED, this will be the Nintendo Switch Magno version, which will have magnetic Joy-Cons, because I can't believe that they're still selling it with the Joy-Cons that they have. The Joy-Con drift on the Nintendo Switch is, it's a epidemic, or whatever amongst those consoles. And Nintendo have just carried on. Yeah, we'll replace them if you suffer from it.
Well, the worrying thing about this story, though, Gareth, is that what they're saying is that nothing's going to be backward compatible. So all of your stuff that you bought for Switch suddenly is going to be completely useless. All of the stuff that you bought for the Switch up to now can be used on the new Switch, but anything you buy for the new Switch can't be used on the old Switch.
Yes.
Which is a bit crap, really, isn't it? Nintendo, naughty.
It's not an argument that I will ever entertain.
Your son might.
Because I've had a Nintendo and then I've had a Super Nintendo. At no point did I go, why can't I play my Nintendo games on my Super Nintendo? Because I bought a Super Nintendo, not a Nintendo.
Yeah, well, you're not interested in Nintendos. If you were, you'd be more enthused about making sure that did work the other way around. But oh no, you just want to use your other consoles.
Well, yeah, there's a point where these companies need to draw a line. I'm not saying it's acceptable for Nintendo to do that and then just let things die off. Believe me, I hate the idea of a dead video game. And we're seeing so many of them. Say whenever GameSpy went down, it took so many video games with it. When Xbox and PlayStation announced that they were cancelling various aspects of their online store, killed off a huge amount of games. But I think the onus is on the developers to be able to make them available to the new platforms that are coming out. So if you want to go back and play Cuphead on the Cuphead 2 on the original Nintendo Switch, you're not going to be able to unless the developer goes, oh well, we'll go and make it for the Nintendo Switch. If I wanted to play RoboCop 2 on the Amstrad, it did get released. GSHQ 2 I don't think got released, other than that mythical cartridge that's out there for the GX4000. It didn't come to the Amstrad. Instead, if I wanted to play that game, I had to upgrade to a 16-bit or a more popular games machine. That's just the way it works. You can't expect the manufacturers to have to continually support older hardware all these years later.
Raspberry.
The Switch has been out for 10 years or so.
Balls. My Windows computer's 10 years old and it's still going. What's that picture?
But your Windows computer can't play some of the games that were released on Windows computer 20 years ago. If you take a game for Windows that says Windows XP across the top of it or something, whatever games for Windows like it was, and put that in, like Wolfenstein, the original, or the re-release of Wolfenstein, and try to play it on your game system today, it won't work. And there's no reasons for that. It's just, it won't work.
Yeah, go to Abandoned Games, whatever it's called.
Yeah, and you download them and you have to get some sort of emulator or virtual machine to pretend that you're running Windows 95 because it's moved on.
What's that picture up in the top right hand corner of a Nintendo surrounded by? Are all those things magnets? There's a whole thing about magnets, isn't there? And the controllers on the side no longer are going to slide on; they're going to just clack on with magnets.
It's the insides of the actual Joy-Con, where you go up, down, left, right on the Joy-Con. The plastics inside that can wear down and break, depending on how much you use them. However, inside where the connection is made for up, down, left, right, they can put in a magnet to detect the movement, and that's a much more reliable way of keeping an accurate. The Aberneck that I bought about a year ago, it had a magnetic or a Joy-Con that used magnets inside of it, and it was just as accurate as you would expect. Right. And this is what they need to do. It's just a wee bit more expensive for them to do it than it is for to have plastic connections.
So the magnet doesn't refer to the two side, the Joy-Con, the controllers. It's referring to what's inside. Okay.
Yeah, the actual Joy-Con itself. Yeah.
Right.
I believe. Maybe I didn't read it too closely. I just thought, hooray, they're doing. Oh, right, okay. Leaps back to discussing magnetically attachable Joy-Cons. Oh, right. Well, maybe you're right. Maybe I was just being presumptuous.
Well,
Nintendo were going to adopt this.
The Switch that I had, the two controllers on the two sides, they're just in a very, very old-fashioned way. You have to line them up and slide them into place. And as I understood it, this was going to do away with that, and you just crack them on and they just attach. But I may have got it wrong.
No, I think you have got it right. Reading this now, that's not the second paragraph. Yeah, it's supposed to be coming. I thought they were using the actual Joy-Con itself, the little stick, whenever underneath the plastic when it connects left and right.
Right.
There's I can't remember what it's called off the top of my head, but there's a magnetic thing that they can use instead of actual bumpers.
Perhaps it's both then.
Maybe. But yeah, where that breaks, you get Joy-Con drift. Never mind. Okay, we'll try and research something for, I don't know, one of the upcoming shows at some stage.
Yeah.
So I know what I'm talking about. All right, the last one is a little trailer that I happened upon on YouTube, and it's for Breaking Bad,
Whoa.
the last batch game that's coming.
Yeah.
And it was released on. It was an official trailer. Ted, you've got a funny feeling that it's fan made, but I don't think it's going to be commercially released if it's a fan made game.
No, if you look at if you go to YouTube and look at the notes underneath the video, it strongly suggests that some nerd in their cellar or in their bedroom has put this together, and it's not really a thing.
Some nerd in an RV out in the middle of the Phoenix Desert, Arizona Desert.
But it looks absolutely brilliant, and I would love it. And if I was going to get into gaming, if I could identify with something that I had, like that I'd loved in a film or a TV show, I think I could then really get into the gaming side of it, and that would be great. Bring it on, I say. I'd be in the queue to buy that.
Yeah, that's right. You wanted Debbie Does Dallas the game, didn't you?
Yes, I did. I quite enjoyed the Simpsons game. What was that called?
There were lots of them.
It's a basic Android-based Simpsons game, and the only reason I liked it was because I like the Simpsons. So I need to do things the other way around, and I want to now play that thing with Bella. What's it called? I can never remember.
Oh, The Last of Us.
The Last of Us. I'm enthused to actually get hold of that, and I haven't done that yet. But because I've seen the TV show, I think I would be interested in the game now. I do it the wrong way around.
Well, that's the way most people do. I had a look through some of my older games that I had on my Amstrad, because I've got a box of them over there, and I realised just how many film tie-ins I actually have, and they're generally the worst games. They're really bad, just basic Spectrum ports that are a cash grab, where they get the license, stick it on the cover, and some spoon like me will go into the shop and buy it for $2.99. Like Big Trouble in Little China. I've got the game of that on cassette. That game was woeful, broken, just was a waste of my money, my pocket money back then. And I couldn't go back to the shop and say, this is rubbish, I want my money back. No, I just had to grin and bear it.
Yeah.
Right, okay. Next up, moving into Flappy Trap about an app. The long-awaited Arc browser has launched on Windows. Yeah, Arc was a browser that had fairly high, some big promises on what it was going to be doing some time ago, and I remember being quite excited about it, and then joining the beta test.
Wait queue, yeah.
Yeah, and I think about 6 months ago I got an invite, and I installed it, and I used it for 5 minutes. It would have been about 5 minutes. And do I still even have it installed? I do have it installed,
I thought,
yeah.
One of the reasons I put this in was I thought you tried it and quite liked it. I was wrong.
I think I initially quite liked it, but I never went back to it because it doesn't even run. I'm just running it now to see if I can have a look at it.
It runs
Windows is doing stuff. It'll get to it eventually. This was Linux Mint, then woohoo!
It runs on Windows 11, incidentally, and not on 10, which is why I've not played with it. I have got a Windows 11 laptop here, but I didn't get round to it. But, Windows 10 has been not involved in it. Well, I linked to another hands-on view of someone in XDA developers being a bit sceptical about it, really, about, basically it's still a browser running on Chromium background, and they're saying that the UI is nice and it's compact, but and that there's a nice split view. I don't know, that the split view looks quite interesting in that each of the tabs has got its own back and forward and home controls and all of that, and there are some nice touches. Do you remember in your 5 minutes having nice touches?
Well, I've just opened it up again. I've just
right.
updated it now, and I'm looking at it and thinking it's very clean.
Mm-hmm.
It is. There's not a lot of stuff around to get in your way, and you would just be able to browse the internet somewhat uninterrupted. There's on the left there, you've got some basic tabs and things like that you can. What I remember from it was, it felt like they'd taken the tabs that you have in Chrome, and rather than having them running across the top, they would have them running on the left-hand side.
Yeah, which others have done now as well.
Yeah, and I think that was about it.
Right.
And you can have a few featured bits here and there. But maybe I'll try this week and spend a bit more time with it and try to report back in the weeks to come. I'll have a look and see if there's probably a version of it on Mint, and run it on that too.
Okay. When they release it for Windows 10, I'll have a go too.
Yeah, I don't think they should bother. Just to annoy you, force you to upgrade. All right, the last one we're going to talk about here is an awesome new browser extension that will give you Microsoft Copilot in a sidebar on Google Chrome, because everybody wants that. I was out in the streets the other day and there were people calling for it. They were outside Tesco going, "Give us Copilot in Chrome!"
Well, it's interesting how when Google have just collapsed the whole sidebar thing and ditched it for another system, that Microsoft wants to make something of it. I installed this extension and it works absolutely fine. It sits there on the right hand side, and whenever you want to do anything with it, you can use it, and when you don't want to use it, you can pop it away, very much like the Google Chrome sidebar from before. But that didn't have Gemini in it. Well, it didn't in the UK. I think the Gemini thing has been a bit kind of slow to be adopted in the UK. Whereas in America, I think they had it before. But anyway, yeah, going back to the story, the Copilot sidebar does work. I tried it, and it works absolutely fine. And for anyone that wants it to sit on the right-hand side of their screen, they can. If you're not signed into or signed up to Microsoft Bing and all that claptrap, then
right.
you do need to be signed into that to make it work. As I've got Microsoft 365, I kind of already am, and so it just worked. But yeah, very nice.
Right. Yeah, I've just removed that. Yeah. It sounded quite interesting, and I've noticed that you can deploy your own AI chat GPT things yourself and have them running without having to go through the big tech companies. So I'd maybe look into that a wee bit more. So. Yeah. Right, okay. So Google Gallows and the Chrome Corner. Ted, take us through a tour of what Google has been up to.
Yeah, okay. I'll rattle through it, and then in the usual manner, you can pick out anything you want to talk about afterwards. YouTube TV is starting to roll out multi-view on Android phones, which means that you'll be able to put 4 pictures on your Android device at the same time, or 2 if you fancy, all within YouTube TV's application. And they are targeting this, I think, in America first again, for particularly tablet users, so that they can access sporting events and get different camera angles and all that sort of thing. I can't imagine anyone wanting to watch YouTube videos 4 at the same time otherwise. Chrome's Gemini address bar is rolled out. I tested that earlier today. So if you're using Chrome and you put an @ symbol, what's that called? Ampersand? No.
Yeah. No, the ampersand's the and one. That's...
Oh yeah, that's right. What's the @ thing called? Can't remember.
@
If you put @ in your what's it, and then press space, then you can directly search within, for example, your bookmarks or your history, or you can launch Gemini and get an instant Gemini search going. Google Play Books has put audiobook reviews into YouTube. They've got a channel which you can subscribe to. No one seems to quite know why they've done that, but audiobooks, it's more about this kind of whole podcasting thing going into Google, YouTube, and Google seem to be wanting to put all of their products inside YouTube, and YouTube's going to be the one place that everyone goes for everything, although reading a book might be a bit tricky ultimately. And they're giving away a load of free books to kids as well in the process. I think there's 300 of those books, worth checking out if you've got kids. Windows snapping and overview is included now in Chrome OS 1.2.4. If you haven't got 1.2.4, then why not get it downloaded? And you can then snap Windows on a Chromebook in the same way as you can with Windows. We saw that coming. We spoke about it before.
Does it have the top menu bar thing, like where you can do all kinds of different layouts?
Yeah. You can lay it out how you like. It works just like the Windows one. So,
okay.
But on a Chromebook, certainly. There's a little summary of 8 Chromebook extensions, which I'll include the link for in the show notes. And some of those you'll know, some of them you won't know, possibly. The ones that I'll pick out are the Keeper one, which we've all got in our Amazon feed, no doubt. Save to Pocket. Well, actually, I've gone across to what's it called? Instapaper, and I'm not using Pocket anymore because Instapaper I find better. Anyway, there's a thing for that. There's one called Buffer, which gives you. I
remember Buffer. Yeah.
Right. Okay. Well, this will appeal to you because you're a person who posts to multiple feeds with your creations, aren't you? I think you use what's it to do yours, don't you? WordPress.
Not really anymore, because APIs or APKs and things like that have been discontinued by the likes of Elon Musk and things, so you have to do it manually anyway.
Well, I don't know if Buffer works still then, but they seem to think it does for a bunch of social feeds. The Google Keep Chrome extension I use, and you can just add anything to Keep, and I use that constantly. There's an office editing tool which works, so you grab hold of once you've got the that installed, you can grab hold of any, say, Word document, drag it onto your Chrome window, and boom, it opens, and you can edit it, and you can save it.
Does it make that sound effect?
Back to where you were. What else is there? There's View
Momentum.
Image. Momentum. What's Momentum? Oh, Momentum.
Spruce up all your tabs.
Yeah, I didn't look at that one. Have you heard of that one? Momentum.
No, it reminds me of something that I whenever Chrome first came along, it wasn't themes, but you could get sort of, you could interact with it differently, and it allowed you to play around with the actual, I'm going to use the word theme, but it's not a theme, the theme of it would lay things out differently for you, yeah.
Right. I'm
thinking that's maybe what this is.
I've just installed that. And keep it or change it back. Change back to Google. This page was changed by the Momentum extension. Change it back or keep it. It seems like a whole front end.
It gets you a better tab screen, includes new calming background mantra,
right.
And quote the changes each day to help you feel calmer and more focused. Okay, Ted, I think that sounds like something good for you.
That sounds like that sounds very Microsoft, doesn't it? Sounds like a Windows thing. Anyway, so
there might be a button that you can press and it'll play whale song at you.
Yeah, no doubt. Anyway, there's 8 Chrome extensions in that little list, which is quite fun. Chromebooks may soon offer spatial audio, which has come to Android, well, Pixel, some Android devices, the kind of thing that you get with a Sony Xperia on Reality 360. But the thing is that you've got to have supporting equipment, and it only works with content that's been created for spatial audio, and I mean they're working on it. But the point is about this one: if you've got a Chromebook, they're going to include it in a Chromebook as well as Android. So watch out for that one. And lastly, Chrome is preparing its own version of Android Circle to Search. What fun that'll be! Of course, if you've got a Samsung Galaxy tablet, that works already. Well, as long as you've got 6.1 on it. I was using it yesterday, and yeah, it just works exactly like it does on a phone. But they're going to put that into Chrome. I'm not sure how they're going to do it, because you don't have a bottom bar to long press to get it to work, but I'm sure they'll have some other system. And so Circle to Search is going to be in Chrome too. There you go. That was my Chrome gallows, and no, Google gallows and Chrome coroner.
Yes. The Circle to Search thing on the Galaxy is pretty good. It's, if not terribly good.
Yeah.
It's where my wife was wondering what type of tree she was looking at, and she took a picture of the leaf and circled search, and it told her it was a leaf.
Brilliant.
Wasn't terribly helpful.
Yes. I was showing it to my mum yesterday because she was she's just got a Pixel 7 instead of a 6A, and I was showing her how it worked, and she was wowed by it for a few minutes. As she was searching for a clock radio, and I said, well, just put in clock radio and then circle something, and oh wow, that's quick. So I think that's
search for it and then circle it and search for it. Great.
So she was. The point I was making though was that I think it wows people for 5 minutes, and then they move on. And realise, you see, on Chromebooks, you used to have that whole thing with if you've got a Pixel book, which I have, and a Pixel pen, the original one, it's supposed to work with the pen on that, and it's been working for years, since 2017 in fact, or maybe 2018, because it didn't work straight out of the box when the Pixel book first came out. But anyway, you take your pen, you press the button on the side, and you draw a circle around anything on the screen, and it does exactly the same as Circle to Search does, and it did that 7 years ago. And Circle to Search is just kind of, but anyway, the point I was going to make was that for some reason on the Pixel book that no longer works. If anyone out there, dear listeners, knows that I might be doing something wrong with that, but I cannot get it to work. It just doesn't seem to do it. But let me know if there's a trick to it.
Actually, come to think of it, I did use it while I was away, but because of the limited internet that we had, I couldn't get it to actually properly work. So I had to take a photograph of the thing that I wanted to search for and bring it home with me. It was a Roberts radio, and you've just reminded me about that, to go and have a look at that and see how much they are. Because I was quite impressed by the sound coming off it, because it's nothing else to do with no internet. I had to rely on FM radio. The place that I was in wouldn't pick up DAB at all.
You know why you had bad connection? Because you're not 140 million miles away.
True. Had I been on the other side of the sun, things would have been better. But yes, there was a wee FM radio in the place that we were staying, and I was quite impressed by it. And I meant to have a look and see. £150? Wow. I should have just nicked it.
Yeah, some of those Robert radios are really nice. There's one called an iStream 3, which I have been looking at for years and waiting for it to be much cheaper. But the Roberts lines are quite nice, aren't they? Which one was it? The
Roberts Rambler.
Oh, the Rambler. Okay, yeah, I've seen those. One thing I don't like about the Roberts radios, while we're talking about Roberts radios, is that most of them have the whole of the panel to use it on the top and not on the front. And so if it's a bedside kind of solution, then you've got to kind of get up out your bed to look at the top of it to do anything. But
fair point. Yes, the screen is on the top of this.
Yeah.
Well, I have nothing better to do than to sit and try and tune this in and have a wee listen to things, and then realise that the amount of FM radio stations that I was tuning into were just full of ads, so I stopped and kind of forgot about it.
There is that.
Yeah. All right, moving into the bargain basement, where these aren't ads. They're just things that we thought that you might quite like.
Mm-hmm.
A little bit cheaper than normal. The first, it's me actually, is the Sabrent USB Type-C HDMI adapter. It's a multi-port USB hub that you can plug into your laptop or computer or even your phone, I suppose. And it's got 1 times 3.2 USB A at, I don't know, get that out of the way. Sorry, folks, sorry. USB 5 gigabytes per second. USB connector. There's a 4K HDMI port, a 60 watt PD USB-C. So that's your power delivery one. It does fast data. Just accept it as fast data, whether you like it or not. It's got a video docking station for the PS5, it says, so you can hook it up to that. It's got HDMI out, a bunch of different things. But it's crucially 32% off using a promo code of WF4HVDHI, and that reduces it from £9.99 down to £6 something, which is for nothing. Even if you have this sitting in a drawer, it might help you out of a bind one day. For £6, that's terrific.
Indeed. I never thought about putting it into one of these into the phone, but you're quite right. It should work, shouldn't it?
Yeah.
Plug a load of stuff from into your phone. I never thought of that.
Even I think it's a Chromecast can work off this as well. Or not the Chromecast, the Google TV Chromecast-y thing. You can plug this into the back of that and then hook up storage media and things like that and stream directly from Chromecast to your TV.
Wow. Wow. Okay, next thing is the Kindle Scribe. Actually, it's all the Kindles. I highlighted the Kindle Scribe because I'm personally interested in that. Not interested enough to buy it, but it was reduced by 26%. So it was £409, and it's down to £304 at the moment. But when I was checking through that, it looks like all the Kindles are reduced by those kind of percentages. So if you're in the market for a Kindle, particularly a Scribe, that's I think that's the cheapest price I've ever seen one. And if you're not bothered about 64 gigabytes, you can get it even cheaper. I think the 16 gigabyte, the basic one with the basic pen, is actually $239 or something like that. So yeah, Kindle lovers.
But given what you do with these, they hold books and you jot notes and things like that. 64 gigabytes is a killer amount, isn't it? 16 gigabytes would be ample.
It depends if you want to put audiobooks on. So if you're an Audible fan user and you want to download a load of MP3, or not MP3 but audio files to listen to by Bluetooth, then you'll soon use it up. But yeah, good point.
Yeah, something like this might be good for my mother.
It's quite big.
Right.
Beware, though. I don't think one of the things that people don't realise is that the Scribe is huge. It's not like an ordinary Kindle. It's a whacking great big tablet.
Whacking great big tablet.
Whacking great big.
All right. Next up is something that I remember backing, and then they ripped me off by saying that they don't ship to Northern Ireland. But I'm going to throw it in here because it is just gorgeous. This is the Anchorwork M650. These are wireless lavalier microphones that come in a beautiful little case. They've got pro noise cancellation. They work up to 656 feet, which is 200 meters for those who are in
Europe.
Not Imperial. No, wait, hang on. I don't know. 15 hours of battery, and they're down in price from £250 to £139.99.
You were really all over this when they came out, weren't you? And then you were pissed off because they not only did they not ship them, but they stitched you on the price, didn't they?
They did, yeah. I was supposed to get £100 off or something like that, and they said that they wouldn't ship to, or it was Amazon, shipping through Amazon. They wouldn't deliver to Northern Ireland because there's a lithium battery in them, so I couldn't get mine. And they could ship it to me directly, but they wouldn't be able to deliver the £100 off.
Yeah. What would you use it for?
Well, that was the thing. I now realise that I probably wouldn't be using it. But at the time, I was, interviewing people and doing stuff like that. No, you're looking for reasons for you to buy one, aren't you?
No, I've got one. Well, not this particular model, but I've got one, and I bought it ages ago, and I should sell it really because I bought it on a whim, and it's the Rode one, and I never use it. It's just like sitting there doing nothing. I thought I was going to try and find a use for it, but I didn't. Yeah.
I have something similar to this. I can't remember who it was made by, but it's like a cheaper alternative. But they were still about £70, I think, and I never really used them. Mm-hmm. I think I used them maybe twice and realised that they weren't quite suitable for doing video work or something like that, or there was something weird about them. I can't remember what it was, but they sat in a case much like this.
You see people on YouTube sometimes with them on their shirts, don't you?
Yeah.
Juan Carlos Bagnall puts one. He always has one on his shirt in front of him, and I think, well, you could just have a microphone, really. You don't need that on your shirt. Anyway.
Mm-hmm. Well, it gives you the freedom, and it doesn't tie you down. And it's got a wee thing that goes directly into the camera. So it's really minimal fuss whenever you're setting up, and that's what people are paying for. They're gorgeous looking things, and I would love a set, but I wouldn't use them.
No, which is exactly my situation. I'm going to try and flog mine. Right, next is OnePlus Pad with free keyboard. This is directly from OnePlus's UK website, not Amazon for a change. And the keyboard is normally 149 quid. And the unit itself is normally 449, and you get so the whole kit should be 598 quid, and the whole kit at the moment is 379. So that's a huge saving. The OnePlus Pad we spoke about on the show before as a coming soon or a just arrived or something, and we were quite impressed with it. But look at that. That's like, what is that? It's over a third off the price, isn't it? If you factor in the keyboard.
Yeah, the price of the original pad is what, 449 for just the pad. Yeah. So that's a saving of 70 quid.
Yeah.
70 quid, yeah.
I suppose
and then you get a couple of extras thrown in as well that are worth maybe about 200 quid.
You'd want to want the keyboard, I suppose, to make the most of it, but even so, it does.
You also get 6 months of YouTube Premium, or 3 months of YouTube Premium, and 6 months of 100 gigabytes Google One Cloud storage.
What's not to like? It's a nice looking tablet. It's got a Dimensity 9000 chipset inside, and it does look like a nice pad. But this is the 128 gigabyte version. Can you get a 256? I don't see a 256.
No, there isn't. No. There's only 128.
Bastards.
But it takes a micro SD card, doesn't it?
Oh, does it?
I think it does. I'm just inspecting the sides for something that looks like. Well, maybe it doesn't. But Swansea in the product review says she loves it.
Oh, good.
Yeah. Okay, next up is the Kingston Data Traveller, and this is because I realised that I don't have very many USB drives knocking about. I don't know where they go. Where do they expire? Are they perishable?
Believe it. You must have hundreds.
I did have. I've had loads, but I went looking for one, and I found one of 5 that I can think of that I've seen recently. But I don't know where they go. I think they gradually evaporate. This is the Kingston Data Traveller Exodia, which is a 256 gigabyte flash drive. It's 3.2 Gen 1, USB 3.2 Gen 1, with a protective cap that you can use for...
Critical.
For what?
Critical.
For critical?
No, having a cap on it is critical.
Oh, right, okay. Right, yes. I thought it was to stop impregnation and things like that. That's a different type of cap. It's got a key ring, and it comes in multiple colours. And it's down in price from £19 to £13 and 49p, which is a saving of 29%. And I think they're quite useful to have knocking around, especially if you're wanting to stick Linux Mint on it, which is the flavour of the month for me.
That's a good solution.
Jump it down. Boot it off the computer.
Except that you need a USB-A port to plug it into, which my Chromebook hasn't.
Well, yeah, but your Chromebook is... That's something we'll talk about later, because Chromebooks are not that easy.
Yeah.
I'm preoccupied looking at it.
Okay, then.
But even at that, actually, I'm just noticing this 32 gigabyte version of this very stick is only £6.49. Wow.
And, oh, no, hang on a minute. 264s are 11 quid.
264s are 11 quid, yeah.
That's an even better bargain, isn't it? In it.
Well, the 256 at 13, I think, is a top choice. You know, you've got loads of space there, especially if you've got an operating system on. There's a bit of extra space to have applications and things.
Yeah. Good shout. Nice one. Right, lastly is another range of discounts on the Samsung Galaxy S24 range. I'll just click through to check it's still on offer. And it is not. Yes, it is. So 19%. Yeah. So across the S24, the S24 Plus, and the S24 Ultra, you've got various discounts, and the discounts apply to different storage variants as well. The S24 128 is reduced from 800 quid to 650, and on and up really. The S24 Ultra with 1 terabyte, let's go to the top one, has been reduced from 1550 to 1399, and there's all sorts of deals going on in there where you can chuck in buds and watches and stuff, and it's just fish around on that Amazon page, because different combinations, and you get all sorts of different reductions. And I think that's the first time Amazon have done anything quite so broad ranging with the S24 range, so hurrah.
Yeah, it's that time of the year whenever people have money to be able to book a holiday, so they'll try and get that money by offering you tasty little treats like these. Cool, yeah. Good shout there. Lots to look at, actually. I'm just pricing my phone to see what I would have, what I could have saved. That's always a bad thing to do, isn't it?
Definitely.
Right, okay. Well, if you want to get in touch with us, you can by emailing us at gareth@techaddicts.uk. You can find us on Twitter as well, at techaddictsuk, and you can find me on Twitter too, at Gareth Miles, GarethMyles. Ted, where can they find you?
They can find me, as always, at tedsalmon.com. Everything I do goes out from there. There's links to everything, all the audio podcasts we're involved in, the whole team, and also all the MeWe group. Links to join the MeWe group. Do come and join us in the MeWe group. It's great to have conversations in there, and we need a bit more traffic in our Tech Addicts one, so come and join us. If you want to buy me a copy for all I do, then it's at paypal.me. But bumped my microphone. PayPal.me/Ted Salmon.
All right, well, we'll catch us all in 2 weeks, and take care and enjoy the weather.
Goodbye, even if it is thunder and lightning.